Welcome back, everybody. Over 2,500 entries were received, and overall 607 brands were represented by 262 agencies from 18 countries across Africa and the Middle East for this year's 2022 Loeries Film and Film Craft Awards. Organisers say the accolades were awarded to exceptionally well-crafted and executed brand communications work in the film category. The winners were Ogilvy and Joe Public, and were joined via Zoom by Camila Clegg, who is Executive Director at Ogilvy, and we are hoping to be joined by Martin Schlimpf, who is Creative Director at Joe Public. Camila, very good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Morning Live.
Morning. Thanks for having me after a long Loeries week.
Right, it certainly is. It's an absolute pleasure. Now, first of all, congratulations, of course, on your win. For someone who may not know, just give us a brief background into what Ogilvy does.
Well, Ogilvy is a big advertising agency. We're a global agency, but we've got a big, strong arm here in South Africa, and we're responsible for creating huge brand impact. From sort of comms campaigns through to PR, user experience. It's all about how we connect with audiences in the most impactful way for some of our best brands in South Africa.
So what are some of the biggest projects that you've embarked on?
Ooh, there've been many. I work a lot for AB InBev, where we have produced recently a big campaign called Bride Armor, which we did with Carling Black Label. VW is one of our oldest clients as well. I think we've been partnered for about 48 years. We've produced a piece of work now called Game On, which won quite a bit, I have to say, at Loeries. Otherwise, some of our bigger brands are Pep as well. So it's a very exciting space to be.
And this year, over 2,500 entries were received, with about 16% of entries from outside South Africa. Why do you think your selected campaign stood out?
You know, I think we focused very, very much on firstly connecting with the audience in the right way. You know, we knew, for example, with Volkswagen Game On, that our audience don't watch ads. They're the guys who skip ads, who block ads. So how could we convince them to watch our piece of content and really understand what the new Polo was about? So we gamified the whole experience. We put 100 NFTs into our piece of content, and for 5 days, our audience watched it over and over and over again in order to find these NFTs. So we created a huge amount of impact at scale. And it's work that really works for the client, which I think is most important. It's not just sort of awarding creativity for creativity's sake, but creativity that has valuable brand impact.
Yeah. Now, take us through your creative team and, the different processes. I mean, how do you come up with a concept?
Look, I mean, this is why I've got dark rings under my eyes. It's not easy. It isn't easy at all. Every brief comes with its own challenges, its own complications. But most importantly for us, we start at the very core. Regardless of the forever changing media ecosystem, got to start with a sticky, provocative insight, something that really rings true. And from that point, we massage it through a whole sort of network of individuals, all specialists in their own right, into an idea that is completely omni-channel. And then again, it takes a village to create this kind of work. You call in the right people, and then it's about executing it on the right channels. Intercepting the audience where they are at the right time. In a nutshell, it sort of feels like hundreds of people are involved in every project. It's also the importance of connecting with your client and ensuring you've got the same goal and the same vision for the piece of work. And generally, bang, a year later, you have it.
There we go, Camila. And how would you say South Africa fares in comparison to the rest of the continent?
I think we've got incredible talent. I mean, again, if I just look at our VW Game On piece, it was all done locally. There wasn't anything that was sent out globally. Every bit of motion work was done here. We've got unbelievable talent. So I'm incredibly proud of our country. I think we stand a chance of, in the future, being one of the best sort of known advertising countries in the world. And I hope that our work does show that in award shows like One Show and Cannes in years to come. It's just unfortunately so expensive to tackle these award shows on the rand. But yes, we've got excellent talent and great emerging talent as well, which we really need to nurture.
And what would you say is the key to staying power in your industry?
Getting a lot of sleep, I think, for one, when you can. And just making sure that you're incredibly relevant. You've got to have your finger on the pulse of what's happening locally, internationally, how people feel. You know, we call it temperature checks. We've got something at Ogilvy called the Culture Engine, where we really go out there, we get to understand the audience, understand people. We also use a lot of technology to do that by sort of scraping social media and understanding relevant topics. And then you can't go wrong, regardless of what new media channel appears. As long as you really understand the audience, what they want, and what your brand can provide, then you're winning, then you power.
And I see that the trend that really stood out at the Loeries was the innovative use of humor and storytelling. So in terms of your projects that you have embarked on, just how big is this a factor?
We South Africans, we're storytellers by nature. You know, everything we have to do in advertising is tell beautiful stories that emotionally connect with the audience. That could be, it could be a tear, it could also be a laugh. But I think what we need at the moment, after the last 3 years and an awful lot of load shedding, is to smile. So if we're able to connect with our consumers in that way, that's what we enjoy. But obviously it depends on the piece. Again, it's more about the emotional connection than anything else. And if I look at a case film like Bride Armor, there was a very different emotional connection to the likes of our VW Game On piece, which was looking into the future, and what the metaverse might represent for us going forward.
Camila, I'm quite curious to know if a client approaches you, to embark on a particular project. So how would you navigate around issues such as a client taking a stand on a multiplicity of issues such as racism, such as xenophobia, homophobia, etc.? I mean, how do you navigate around that?
I think the client-agency relationship is probably the most important relationship. In this industry, and these are the kind of things that you've got to discuss very openly, and it's about diversity and inclusion, making sure that everyone who has a seat at the table is heard, is understood, and is represented. I'm a big believer in representing minorities. I think brands have a responsibility to show our country and show the world how life should be. Brands are influencers in their own right. And I think even though sometimes those conversations can be complicated, it's just about tackling it head on. And the sooner you do it, the better. And I think a lot of time in this game, it can become about money and agencies needing to obviously, remain after what we've gone through for the last while. But nothing should compromise those kind of ethics. So that's our belief as a company, my belief, tackle these things head on, and ensure you've taken the same journey.
Camila, great chatting to you. Once again, congratulations. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks so much. Lovely to be here.
Thank you. Camila Clegg is the Executive Director at Ogilvy, and we were hoping to be joined by Michael Schlump, who is the Creative Director at Joe Public. Now, the agencies were named the gold winners of the 2022 Loeries Film and Film Craft Awards.